This is part 7. Started off with Everclear, So Much for the Afterglow. I bought this album the day it came out. I liked the first one. It had some kind of surfer quality to it. The first album they had, I can't remember the name of it. This one has quite a few good songs. I've watched interviews with them and they didn't like being so poppy. They wanted to be a little bit more than what they were, but the record label persuaded them to be like this to sell albums. So, you know, you get that look, and I don't know if that's really who they were. It's not a bad album. It's got a few... I played this in front of my wife not too long ago, and she was telling me about how Everyone to Everyone thing and I Will Buy You a New Life are basically the same song. They sound like the same key, and they sound like they could have played right into each other. So Much for the Afterglow is a good song, and Father of Mine is probably their best song. It kind of reminds me of my life. Blank CD with Oingo Boingo Dead Man's Party in it. This is a good CD. I played this for my daughter, and my daughter, you know, during Halloween, and my daughter sang, you know, it's a Dead Man's Party, Leave Your Body at the Door. She was singing that for people. Defending Your Life soundtrack by Michael Gore. Don't know much about this artist. I really like this movie. I think it's an interesting concept for a movie. I guess it's not that good of a movie, but it's an interesting concept. It's a man that dies and he's in limbo and then they get judged. It's an actor that I really like. Can't think of it. Albert Brooks, and it also has Meryl Streep. The music's pretty good. It's straight up orchestral type, scorey type music, a little bit epic, but not too epic. Hawkwind, this is actually a greatest. They play it off like it's new material, but it's called Masters of the Universe, and it's kind of a greatest hits or whatever. It's on EMI. I like Hawkwind. That's Lemmy Kilmister's first band before Motorhead, and then, you know, he left and they still kept on going. Summer of Motown, a lot of Water Damage. Don't know everything that's on here. Ghostface Killer. It's falling apart, but this is a really good album. I mentioned the other day that Jizza Liquid Swords is my favorite hip-hop album. This is my second favorite hip-hop album. Ghostface Killer, Iron Man. It just flows. It just makes a lot of sense. Everybody raps real good. What can I say? I bought this when I was young. I bought this when it came out. I bought a lot of the Wu-Tang stuff when it came out when I was young. It's good. I played at work. The samples on it are really good. The Faster Blade is one of my favorite. Winter Wars is a song that they played on a spoof movie called Don't Be a Menace South Central Way, Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. They played this song. And Poison Darts, I think, is the name of another one. It's really hard for me to read this, but it's just really well done. Really good raps, really good samples. Just everything flows. The whole album's good. Usher, I like Usher. Don't know much about that album. Here's another Dexter Gordon. It's got Sonny Clark on piano. I really like Sonny Clark. And it's got Billy Higgins again on drums. I showed one of their records yesterday. I like most of their stuff better than this, but this is a very common album. Most of his stuff. Pgabriel, Us. Many people look at this as a seminal album. This is not as good as the one that came before this called So. So is good all the way through. This one's got some cheesy parts. It's got that song Steam. If you're ever interested in watching just a weird music video, play that. I know that Sledgehammer is his popular one. And the music video Steam is just a very corny version of that. I like this album a lot. I've got them all. I've got all of his. I like the self-titled stuff. I like So and the self-titled stuff all about the same. I mean, just everything on it is just everything that he did solo-wise was just really good. There was one that he did with Bob Ezrin. I think the first solo one he did with Bob Ezrin producing. That one's probably the worst one out of all of them. It's probably to the level of this, but still very good. Chris Brown, he's hip hop. He's good. There's just so much hip hop out there. It's hard to it's hard to keep up with all of it. Humberto Ramirez. Don't know much about this. Called Treasures. I need to take a listen to it. You know, I picked it up somewhere. Probably pay 10 cents for it. Ted Nugent. This one's called Tooth, Fang, and Claw. When it was originally released, it was Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. Actually, it was just the Amboy Dukes, I think. But then, you know, eventually, you know, his first band was Amboy Dukes, and then he got popular and became the leader of the band, and his ego prevailed. Then it was Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, and then eventually it was just Ted Nugent. This album's got a couple good songs on it. Hibernation is good. It's kind of heavy. His politics are absolutely horrific, but some of his music is good. It's more of a quintessential type thing. You know, so many hard rockers and heavy metalists listen to Ted Nugent because he plays heavy guitar and he's a guitar guru. I think he's a little bit overrated. I think his music's overrated. I think his politics and racism and all that plays into what he is. Charlie Parker, 1940 through 1947. I respect Charlie Parker. It's straight bop. It's just really just up and down, alto sax playing. It looks like they got a picture of Miles Davis on there. He played with Miles Davis before Miles Davis was popular. Andrew Bird, The Mysterious Something or Another. I don't know this album, but I listened to his first couple albums. He had a Andrew Bird Ball of Fire. He was okay. It was decent music. Some of it you could dance to, and the, you know, swing dance or whatever too. I liked it when I was young. I think I was naive because I listen to that stuff now and it just sounds corny as hell. But back then I thought it was really good. Whatever he's coming up with now, this indie stuff, I'm just not turned on at all about it. It just doesn't even intrigue me to even want to listen to. And I don't know why. It could be good. It's just one of those things that falls into that Muse category or that Wilco category where it just doesn't, nothing about it does anything for me just right off the top. Aerosmith, their first album. Got some really good songs on it. It had the hit Dream On this album, and it wasn't a hit until their second album came out, and then they turned back around and re-released this a few times to make the money off of it. It's got Walking the Dog on it, Somebody, One Way Street. It's got some good hard rockers on it. Aerosmith is a guilty pleasure for me. This is not their best album. It's their first album. It's definitely not their best. Probably, you know, I like a lot of them. I like the ones he did even when Joe Perry wasn't around. You know, Night in the Ruts and the one that's got lightning strikes on it. Rockin' a Hard Place is the name of that one. Probably their best is Rocks and Draw the Line. But I like all their stuff. And, you know, unless it's just corny pop music that they're trying to make money off of, I like it. Coldplay. I bought these, you know, because I could get them for whatever amount of money, you know, just a few cents or a few of them for $1 or whatever. And then I never listened to them, so I don't even know what Coldplay sounds like. They're popular. I know they're popular, and I couldn't even tell you what they sound like. I buy some of these, want to listen to them, and then I never get around and listen to them. And I don't feel bad about it because it doesn't have that much meaning to me. This is Gong, Gazoos. Gong is one of my favorite bands when it comes to progressive rock. And they had, this is with Alan Holdsworth, and Alan Holdsworth is probably one of the greatest guitar players of all times. He's very dynamic. He's eclectic. He's jazzy. He's rockish. He just does a whole lot of stuff and new age, just whatever you want to call it. And he's the guitar player on this. I can't remember what was the name of the guy. David Allen was the one before Alan Holdsworth with the band Gong. And the 4 or 5 albums what David Allen does with them are my favorites. But I think Alan Holdsworth is a better guitar player and a better musician. I just think that early stuff that they did with Gilly Smith and David Allen was just truly inspired. It was definitely inspired. That stuff was definitely inspired by the drug culture, and this less so. This is a really good album. It's not as good as like the Flying Teapot trilogy or what they did before this. That was just super psychedelic. Like I say, the easiest way to put this is there's psychedelic stuff before this, is better than this in my opinion. But the guitar player on this, Alan Holdsworth, and let's see if they got one of these. I've got a few of them and they have a picture. There's no picture in this one, but one of them had a picture of Alan Holdsworth in it. Alan Holdsworth was a tremendous guitar player. He did a bunch of solo albums, just one good album after another, very eclectic, very just good. You know, Weezer, I had this album when I was a kid, so of course I picked it back up. It's got the song Buddy Holly on it. Do I like Weezer? I kind of like that song Buddy Holly. You know, my wife likes Weezer, and that's probably has something to do with why I picked it up. Eliminator, ZZ Top, not much can be said about this album. Sharp Dressed Man, Got Me Under Pressure, Give Me All Your Lovin', Legs. It was a money grabber for them. ZZ Top is somewhat of a guilty pleasure for me. I like the songs like Heard It on the X, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, the really early stuff. You know, Tres Hombres. I try to get the stuff on vinyl because they re-recorded all the drums later on, and they screwed up the drums big time by making them more electronic. Even with their first 4 or 5 albums, they wanted to make things more electronic. But ZZ Top first album is good. That's the name of it, first album. Tres Hombres is good. Rio Grande Mud is good. All those albums are really good. You know, you can pick and choose what you like off of them. I don't like everything on them. The hits are always good. They got a good sound. I like ZZ Top, kind of a guilty pleasure thing. I don't like them as much as the guilty pleasure of Aerosmith, but I do like ZZ Top. Is this album good? Not really. You know, it does bring back those memories because I was watching MTV as a kid around those times, but I think those songs are kind of obscene. And, you know, I didn't know what they meant when I was young, but now knowing, you know, like Got Me Under Pressure and Pearl Necklace and all that just really grosses me out. But, you know, that was their gimmick. That's what they did. And people, for whatever reason, respected them. And they kept going and they went for a long time. This is some kind of Blue Note deal. I lost the thing, and it's not even really Blue Note because Blue Note was an old jazz record label. This is not an old band. It's something repurposed to make it sound like it, to make it look like it's old. Don't know what the cover looks like, and I'm probably not that interested in it. That'll do me for now. Thanks.